welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of September 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Edmond Dulac Tarot for you today. So just before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix over on the Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost and hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people. So if that is your bag, you know what to do with that link. Right, let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Pisces. Can I have 3 cards for Pisces, please? We have the King of Swords. What King of Swords? It is the King of Swords in your recent past. That's Aquarius energy. Current energy for Pisces. Oh goodness. We have the Lover's card in reverse and what's coming towards Pisces for September. We have the 6 of Pentacles. Right. 10 of Wands is at the bottom of the deck. And there are certainly decisions that have been made recently. I mean, we'll get into this in a second once we've got the clarifiers out as well. But that reversed Gemini energy of the Lovers there is interesting because it's a nod towards its counterpart energy, which is that of the Devil. Now, it isn't the Devil. The Devil has not come up anywhere. But there's something kind of fixed where you desire movement in the current state of play, like where you are at the moment. Let's get some clarifiers out, and we're going to go with the Lewellyn to clarify and see what this is all about. And then we'll put some meat on the bones of this reading. So tell me about the King of Swords, please. Lord. So we have the 9 of Pentacles there. King of Swords, please. And the 2 of Wands. What about the Lover's card, please? Thank you. We have the 10 of Wands again. And the Knight of Pentacles, that's Virgo. And that's 6 of Pentacles. We've got the 9 of Swords. And we've got the 7 of Wands. Right. Okay. It feels like the energy's a little bit sticky around you at the moment, Pisces. I think that's what I would say about this. I don't think it's going to stay that way, but I think that it's important that you keep yourself, you keep an eye on where your energy is going. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And we've got this 10 of Wands showing up twice here. This is a card of burden. It's a card of working too hard, taking on too much responsibility, simply just doing too much. Perhaps you've had the zoomies recently and you've been doing lots of things and taking on lots of stuff. The thing is, I feel like the energy here, as I'm reading it across these cards, is actually suggesting that you should be taking on less. And September is a month that will help you work out what is important, what actually requires your energy, right? So let's start off over here. That's absolute fuckery of the cards as they are. And we have the King of Swords with the 9 of Pentacles and the 2 of Wands. Now, the King of Swords is Aquarius energy, but it speaks most often to our decision-making processes. I mean, sometimes it can speak to the professions, you know, the doctors, the lawyers, surgeons, accountants, that kind of thing, because it's representing somebody who is using the power of their mind rather than anything else. You know, you'll notice actually that the 3 cards that we have here are pretty stark in the lack of involvement of cups. And in fact, right across the board, we're not seeing any cups. We're not seeing any watery energy for you this month. So the King of Swords is someone who puts emotions to the side and makes, sort of detached decisions about things, right? They're not people, doctors, lawyers, accountants. They're not generally people who have to consult their emotions in making decisions or advising other people about how to make decisions, right? So we have that energy there, and it's supported by the Nine of Pentacles and the Two of Wands. Now that seems to me to be a very clear indication that some decisions have been being made by you, or perhaps they're suggesting that they were needed to be made. In terms of where your energy levels are going, it's almost like you've had lots of things pop up that were possible for you to involve yourself in. And each of them has felt somewhat like it's been a bit of a turning point. You know, the Two of Wands can often talk about the crossroads energy. And over the course of this year, I've seen it indicate far more, you know, the small decisions that we make every day, the compounded effect of which, you know, takes us in a very different direction to where we might have been necessarily from the stark choice of one thing over another at the crossroads. But this feels a little bit like you've almost willingly taken on the things that you've taken on. Maybe you've decided that you had enough spoons in the drawer to be able to do, you know, whatever's being put in front of you. I do feel like this has been taking advantage of opportunities that have been showing up. Because the Tens of Wands don't come in until a little bit further along. It doesn't feel like necessarily burden has been placed on you, but almost that you kind of willingly decided that you would go into this place of burden. Maybe there was an idea that this would be a relatively short-term thing and you agreed to it on that basis. And then what's happened is it's actually ended up stretching out far more. The King of Swords is it's a very mentally agile energy, right? It's an energy of someone who considers all the sides of something and then they make a decision, right? The King of Swords for me is an arbiter, so that's where the decision-making processes come in. But the Nine of Pentacles is about how you manage your energy, and generally when it's showing up in the upright, it shows that you have been managing it very well. And there's this Two of Wands also speaking to decision-making processes. But I do feel like what started out as a good idea is now feeling a little less than. And I just picked up another deck because I want a little bit more information about what this is here. Tell me about this Nine of Pentacles and Two of Wands, please. So we've got the Seven of Wands showing up sideways. And I am going to read it like that. And we have the Page of Pentacles. Now this is really interesting because we have the Seven of Wands here and we have the Page of Pentacles over here. So here, where decisions were being made and consideration about how much energy you had to do X, Y, and Z were made, we had this Seven of Wands and Page of Pentacles energy kind of dotting around. Now the Seven of Wands is upright here, but it's actually sideways here. And it feels like that Seven of Wands feels like it was less of a consideration back then. You know, when I talk about recent past, often, more often than not, we're talking about the period between now, when you're watching this video, and probably about 6, maybe a maximum of 8 weeks out. But I mean, really, we're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks back from where you are now. Right up until, you know, when you got up this morning, the things that you were doing then. So there's the possibility of investment and value and new starts and all those things that we enjoy about the Page of Pentacles. But I wonder if there's been something, I don't like to use the word naive because I don't think it is naivety exactly, but I think you've overextended yourself, Pisces. And I don't know if it was because there were so many good things that were coming along at once, you almost felt obligated to take advantage of them all. I noticed that we've got the Six of Wands sitting at the bottom of the deck here now. And it's like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, right up until we arrive at your present energy where you're like, I can't do this, I'm fucked. I'm literally exhausted. Because the Lover's card is a really good card. It's a card of conscious co-creation. It's a card of the exercise of free will. It's a card of somebody who is autonomous and able to make decisions about their life that one would hope is in their highest good. Now, when it shows up in the reverse, it's got much more of a devilish energy to it than it does a lover's energy to it. It isn't the devil, as I said before. So it's not like there's, we're stuck in that devil energy of things being completely stuck and trapped and fearful and all that sort of thing. But there's a level of discomfort here with that lovers in reverse that seems to me has you rethinking things. And as I'm recording this, we do have like 6, 7 planets in retrograde, something like that. All the fucking planets are in retrograde. And retrograde energy is great for going back over things that we have done, we have decided, we have thought, we have felt, and checking whether it's still in alignment with where we want to go. Like I said, the overwhelming feeling that I'm getting here is that you've really tried to capitalize on some good things that have come along. And whilst you had an idea of the possibility of these 2 cards showing up, I think that you underplayed the effect that working this hard was going to have on you, or underestimated the effect rather, because you do seem to have stretched yourself somewhat. You may notice again, like I've got more cards out on the table here, and there are no cups. We've got wands, we've got pentacles, we've got swords as well, but your element is missing. And I wonder if you've had to, whether you've been trying to play the long game with yourself here, Pisces. So it's kind of like short-term discomfort, long-term gains, which is fair enough, and that often works as a strategy. And I mean, it is working in some ways, because we've got a double page of pentacles here, but we do have the Knight of Pentacles too. There is movement. Things have been moving on somewhat. And the Knight of Pentacles is diligent and capable and adaptable, flexible to a point, but his energy is about investment. It's about working really, really hard and being disciplined about things. I mean, I think it's a card that represents Virgo, so it's a fellow mutable sign like you. But within that, we have Virgoan themes of perfectionism and attention to detail and things like that. A little bit more flexibility than you would get with the other 2 earth signs, but nevertheless. So what seems to be being reassessed here, if I can put it that way, reassessed, recalibrated, reconsidered, these sorts of things, is whether the juice is worth the squeeze. I'm going to put it that way, because we've got double 10 of wands. Like, you bent over double, Pisces. You're working really, really hard. And I think that, this is over the course of September. We've got Mercury, well, Mercury is retrograde, but we've got Venus, which has finally stationed direct. And I don't know about everybody else, but I found that Venus retrograde to be a little bit, how did one of my people on Circle put it, crunchy. It's a little bit of a crunchy retrograde. But it's had us going back over what it is that we value. It's brought us face to face with a lot of the deeply held narratives that we possess around what it is that has value, that holds value for us. And as Venus is stationed direct today, and she will spend the rest of this month, I believe, right up until the 4th of October, I think, in that post-shadow, there seems to be a bit of analysis over whether what you thought initially was a really, really good idea, what you thought was worth the investment, the juice was worth the squeeze, because there was a victory at the end of it, now doesn't feel like it means as much as it did even just a couple of weeks ago. Because what it's costing you, and I do feel like it's costing you, is pretty unsustainable. And I think that's the conclusion that you've come to, Pisces, that there is something unsustainable about this. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to drop everything immediately and do just do nothing. Maybe it is that some things need to fall by the wayside, because I just don't think there are things that you've been involved with that are as much in alignment with you as you thought that they were, like I said, just a few weeks ago. And these could be creative projects, it could be work stuff, it could be a job, it could be relationships that you find yourself in. Retrograde time isn't always the best time to start a relationship, although some work perfectly well. Because of that quality of going back over things that we've already done, right? The energy isn't about initiation and movement forwards. It's about, what have I already done, and does it still hold value for me? Is it still important to me? Is it still worth me working as hard as I am to achieve this? Because the progression is really slow. This is not pages and knights of wands or swords, or even your element, your cups, which move, slightly faster than the pentacles. This is pentacles. It doesn't really get any slower than this. There is movement, and it is movement forwards. And it's of a nature that will take you to your goal eventually. But the question is, are you going to burn out before you get there? Because that Lovers in Reverse feels... it feels a little claustrophobic as I'm looking at it. It's not straight up repression or oppression like we might expect with the Lovers, but it's certainly like a pressure in the chest. And you're like, do I even want this? Am I prepared to make myself work this hard, only to find at the other end that I don't even want what it is that I was working for? It said, I've just noticed the fucking Six of Pentacles is sitting at the bottom of this deck. And that's your card here. Now, it would be lovely if once the planets stop going retrograde, like we get just an absolute bolt from the blue, clarity about what we're doing. But they very rarely work like that. And the longer the shadow period, I feel like the longer it takes to come to a place of clarity about things. So Venus may have stationed direct, but we still have that post-shadow period, and all the other planets, pretty much all of the other planets, are in retrograde motion. Mars is not. What's the other one? I cannot fucking remember. No, it's gone. Tell me about this Ten of Wands and Knight of Pentacles, please. Now you see we're running the cost-benefit analysis now. What seemed like a good idea initially now does not seem like a good idea anymore, as the reality of it is starting to play out. And maybe it's because it's not that you're tired now, but you can see that you are getting tired, and the finish line is considerably further away than you would like it to be. And the question is, how much can you sustain this level of energy that you're putting in, which seems like an awful lot, to get to the end? And like I said, will you be burned out before you get there? I think possibly. I mean, the Hermit card is at the bottom of the deck. There's Virgo energy again, supporting the Knight, rather, of Pentacles. And the wisdom of the Hermit is always that the answers to every question that we could ever have are sitting inside of us. We need to go looking for that. So what is it that you need, Pisces? Because for some of you, it's dropping some of the burdens. For others of you, it might simply be, where is the time for you to be yourself? Again, another card on the table, another card at the bottom of the deck. Neither of them are water. Where are you getting your sustenance at this point? Because you're an emotional sign. And I think in order for all of the water signs to be living their best lives, the emotional stuff has to come first. And once that's all straight, I mean, you can pretty much do anything. Pisces is a really powerful sign. And it really rags my shit when other tarot readers or astrologers seem to lose sight of that. I wonder how the Pisces full moon was for you. I was so excited to see it. It was absolutely huge when it was coming up, and then the night where it went full properly, there was the most tremendous thunder and lightning storm that I have ever had the pleasure to witness. It was next level, and I liked it because it was Pisces. And it's almost like that surprise power that comes from places that people don't expect of you. Now, I know I'm talking about this in terms of you overextending yourself and all that sort of stuff, but I wonder if anybody that did what you're trying to do at the moment would also feel the same. I think so. And the question is, should you desperately be trying to fill a bucket when you know the bucket's got holes in it? Or should you take just take some time out and fix your bucket? Like, do you need a break? Do you need to put some things down permanently? Do you need to put some things down temporarily? Because I don't feel you vibing with your element here. Now, even that in and of itself might not necessarily be a bad thing, but we've got the 9 of Swords and the 7 of Wands showing up there. We've got the 10 of Wands showing up twice. We've got the 9 of Pentacles in reverse. I mean, this is all speaking to physical and mental exhaustion. And I think that it's really important, Pisces, that you claw something back for you. Tell me about this Knight of Pentacles. I don't think the deck has anything else to say. I mean, it's a very stark message. It's very straightforward. It's like you're pretty knackered, Pisces. And looking at the cost-benefit analysis of what you're trying to achieve versus how you are feeling right now, is this worth it? Now, it might be that it is. But I think that the energy that you're in at the moment is about pondering that. Because I do feel like some sort of adjustments need to be made. And, part of the reason why I feel like that is because the card that you have, which represents the energy that is coming towards you for September, is the 6 of Pentacles. It's balance, or the need for balance. It's the need to take care of yourself. It talks to charity and all those kind of things as well. But there's something here that needs to be put on an even footing in your life that it currently isn't. I mean, that's 9 of Swords and the 7 of Wands are both difficult energies, and when they show up together, they almost amplify each other, because you've got a loss of perspective going on here. So we have the possibility of a loss of perspective. And everything that flows from that, which is insomnia and, difficult mental states where you find it difficult to manage. I mean, come on, if you are tired, if anyone is tired, their tolerance level for anything drops through the floor. I had this last week. I didn't sleep. Wow, actually it was probably the week before as well. I had 4 days last week where I just did not sleep properly. I was very, very uncomfortable. And then the week before I just didn't sleep very much at all. And my resilience levels dropped. I could actually watch it happen. And things that wouldn't usually bother me bothered me considerably. Now, the 9s for me are all about how we manage the suit that they represent. So over here, we're talking about the management of your resources, or the lack of management of your resources. You know, maybe you've invested too much into something at the at the deficit of something else. This could even be financial, although I don't feel like it's the case. I feel like it's very much energetic for you, Pisces. So when we come to the Nine of Swords, it's like, how are you managing your mind? How are you managing what your mind is doing? Have you become fixated on an outcome, on something that you're trying to achieve? And are you flogging yourself stupid to try and make this happen? And again, I'll pose the question to you, is it worth it, Pisces? Because this Six of Pentacles that suggests you have to try and balance something out is supported by a loss of perspective that's coming from really the it feels like your mind's taken over what your emotions should be taken care of. And this Seven of Wands, it's an energy of being defensive and having to fight things off. Now, we see this in a couple of different ways. In so much as we've got difficult mental energy, let's see if we can just put it like that, and then we've got this. Now, are you defending yourself against your own exhaustion? Are you defending yourself against other people? Or are you trying to defend yourself against yourself and the potential that you have that seems to have come up to the surface for some reason for workaholic tendencies? And the funny thing is that you foresaw the possibility of this here, but you didn't see it quite as strongly as it was. It was almost like you acknowledged that there was a possibility that this is something that might happen, but then, like I said, it's not quite as strong an energy as it has turned out to be, or as it is turning out to be. Let me just pull some cards here. Tell me about this Nine of Swords, please. So we're going around in circles here, Pisces. That's the King of Swords, just as we have here. So we've got you second guessing your decision and your decision-making processes. Fuck. And we've got the Queen of Wands. It's like what it is that you've chosen to do, what you thought was a good idea at the point where you started doing it. Tell me about Seven of Wands, please. We've got the Emperor. And we've got the Page of Wands. Yeah, I do feel, there you are finally, Knight of Cups at the bottom of the deck. I do feel like September is a month where you're going to start pulling things together, because I think that you're noticing that you've gone just a little bit too far the wrong way. Like you've pushed into something. I mean, we see that here, right? This Nine of Swords. The brain is full. The mind is full. There's too much stuff going on. And the potential for you to get stuck into an energy that is quite devilish in nature, which would be the I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I have no choice, I can't do anything else, is quite strong. But it's mitigated by the fact that rather than the devil appearing, you've just inverted the Lovers. Right? Now that's still not great, because where it spoke to free will and autonomy and you know, free choice and all that sort of thing, we've now got something a little bit more restrictive. But here, I do feel like it's almost like you witness yourself having become slightly obsessed with something, maybe become obsessed with an outcome or obsessed with an idea, to the extent that you have completely sacrificed any kind of self-care, any kind of time for yourself, on the altar of what it is that you have to do. And this Seven of Wands then does become the other side of the coin, in so much as it's, how do you protect yourself from your worst instincts? Now I say worst instincts in kind of tongue-in-cheek, because I think it's good for people to push themselves to their limit periodically, and I know people all over the place would be horrified by that. Maybe it's a fire sign, but like, I like to know where my limits are, and I like to bounce off them periodically. Hence working out. If I haven't slept properly in 2 weeks, I start to get a little bit cranky, right? It's a reminder to me later down the line that, should this sort of situation arise again, maybe it's get a little bit more sleep. And if I'm not getting a little bit more sleep, then make positive decisions about what I can do to protect my energy, to make sure that I have the longevity, the stamina to be able to achieve the goal that I'm looking for. I mean, my biggest issue often is unrealistic timeframes for things, unrealistic levels of perfection with stuff. It's like when I open my books for personal readings. Everything with between that and the videos that I do for YouTube and Vimeo, everything takes actually 3 times longer than I think it should. And so when I'm trying to sort out my schedule, what I should do is reduce what I'm trying to do by 2/3 actually. So they would just have that 1/3 and spread it out over longer. But I don't do that because I'm a Leo and I'm stupid. But I'm learning slowly, and this is the thing here. This feels like a regrouping. It's almost like you've realised there's an aspect of yourself that maybe can get a little bit obsessive, or maybe begins to second guess yourself, to doubt the decisions that you've made. When the problem is not the decision that you made, it's the rate at which you've been trying to work. And I think that the slow aspect of this is what's been causing the frustration, but then also correspondingly the amount of exhaustion that's gone with it. So here, reassessing, reanalyzing, reconsidering, going back over, how do I best protect myself? And maybe it's even, because we have 6 wands here, how do I protect myself against my own need for success, perhaps obsessive need for success in something or other? It's like, where are you not being kind to yourself, Pisces? Because this is a regrouping. We've got the Emperor and the Page of Wands. Page of Wands is kind of back to basics. What do we need to prepare to do this properly? What do I need to be able to sustain, whatever plan that is I'm working through? How can I re-strategize? Go back to the drawing board with these 2 cards here and look at things again. How do I bring myself back into the picture? Because you have been, up until this very last card, spectacularly absent by sign, but also by element. And that, I feel, is a little concerning. And I think that you will come to the realization in September that this is also a concerning thing, and that you have to pay attention to what your actual needs are. Because however noble your intention, when you've shoved them all to one side, I do feel like the way that you've been working recently, Pisces, is unsustainable. Like the level that you've been working at, whatever it is that you're doing, whether this is your employment or creative projects, or even just, relationships, you're going to be able to breathe again very, very soon, Pisces, but you're going to have to accept that you need to make changes. There's something unrealistic about what you set up here. You kind of saw it, kind of didn't. And once you see it in its entirety, not only is it showing you something about yourself, which is a useful thing to know, but it's giving you an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and create the balance that allows you to do the things that you want to do, but also takes into account that, just like the rest of us, you've got this big lumpy flesh body to keep to try and keep happy too, This is really interesting, Pisces, right? I'm going to go over to the Vimeo now, to the extended rather, which is on Vimeo and Circle. So if you'd like to join me over there, you're very, very welcome to do so. If not, no shade. I would just say the TLDR of this really is it worth it, Pisces? And if it is, then reevaluating how you go about even just pacing yourself for it will help you go, I think, kind of quicker in the long run, because you're not rushing, you're not pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion and then having to recover and then having to spool back up again. It's like, just keep it, take it down a peg or two, take care of yourself, and you'll be able to potter along consistently. But if it's not of value to you in the way that you thought it was, just chuck it, Pisces. Like, it's not worth turning yourself inside out like you seem to be doing right now. Okay. Consider what advice you would give to somebody else in these circumstances. That's always an interesting one. Shows you where the huge yawning chasm of a discrepancy sits. I'm terrible for for doing that, like not taking my own advice. I'm getting better. I'm trying to do better, but I have to do that all the time. Just flip it round. What would I say to somebody else who said that to me? I'd be like, "What are you doing?" But for me, totally different rule set. So it's a slow process, but I'm getting there. But seriously, Pisces, there isn't much in this world that's worth burning yourself out for. So I would start paying attention, because I think your body is really trying to tell you something. Your mind is certainly trying to tell you something. All right, I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.